interview with the National Father Benedict Groeschel had an interview with the National Catholic Register, and during that interview, he was asked. Father Benedict Groeschel had an interview with the Father Benedict Groeschel had an interview with the National.
Make sure you guys know who he is.
And during that interview, he was asked about some of the priests that were accused of sexually molesting young boys, and instead of blaming the priests for some of these perverse actions, he decided to blame the victims. He said the following. People have this picture in their minds of a person planning to, a psychopath, but that's not the case. Suppose you have a man having a nervous breakdown and a youngster comes after him. A lot of the cases, the youngster, 14, 16, 18, is the seducer. Wow.
Is there
Child molesters and their reasoning.
They paid him to say this crazy thing so he'd stop talking about Aiken?
I can't imagine anyone saying anything more offensive than that. To blame these young boys who were molested, who had their lives destroyed in many cases because of these priests. I mean, to know that you, as a leader within a religion, are not apologetic about some of the horrible, horrible things that occurred, it just makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
How do you defend comments like that?
Well, I'm not going to, but it's crazy to say they're personally responsible for the worst experience in their entire life.
Catholics.
That was, I think, a couple steps beyond just saying, like, oh, someone who was raped was asking for dressing a certain way or walking in a certain area. Like some of these kids, they're not 14, 16, 18. Some of them are much younger than that. So don't try to downplay it by saying they're 18. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 10-year-olds and 7-year-olds. Were molested multiple times over periods, and then not only did that happen, but they got no justice when the people who did it were taken to a different area or something like that.
Right.
Maybe not even taken to a different area.
I know Catholics myself that just let their kids get molested and didn't say nothing.
Pastoral psychology at St. Joseph's Seminary. The reason why I bring that up is because if you were on the record being so unapologetic, and if you're on the record making excuses for what these priests have done,
that's
and
Catholics.
You're a professor that some of these priests look up to, what kind of message are you sending them? Like, if you do this, it's acceptable, it's okay, it's because you were seduced, it's the victim's fault, it's not your fault, it's because you were going through some sort of emotional breakdown, and...
Well, I had an aunt, Helen, and her husband, Willie, molested Shelley, and they went through a whole bunch of stuff, but my Aunt Helen's Catholic and does this, and she thinks she's better than everybody because she's a nurse. And she let her daughter get molested by Willie and never said nothing about it, to the cops or nothing. They just let it go on. And now they're sitting wherever they're at, retired, thinking everything's fine, that everybody else is, they put me down when they harmed us more than anything. I was molested by my aunt's daughter, and then, if you were to ask my family now, I'm the worst guy impossible. But I was the littlest kid, and then I was molested by my cousin Shelley, and then, all this stuff was brought up, and apparently I'm the bad guy. I was 9 and she was 12 or something. But yeah, it all came out, even in me, you know what I mean? Even when I was older and my wife was 21 and I was 16, I was still held responsible for all the stuff I did, like I was an adult. But then I was pointing out to my girl, hey, are you sure you can't get pregnant? I was 15, she was 21. She said, oh, no, I can't. Well, I got 2 kids from her. But, I tried to look out for myself, but before I was even old enough, my parents had tore me apart, you know what I mean, and left me standing there all by myself, in society saying, hey, go defend yourself, but I got to pay bills. Oh, pray. Yeah, well, when I bring Jesus up to my family now, they're a bunch of heathens.
And this, demon came into your life and seduced you. How unbelievable is that? I can't believe that this man is actually teaching in the United States, and it's acceptable for him to say these things. It's incredible.
There are a lot of crazy people.
Now, he also talked about how these relationships, the relationships were not homosexual in nature. He says that they were heterosexual in nature. He says the following: if you go back 10 or 15 years ago with different sexual difficulties, except for rape or violence, it was very rarely brought as a civil crime. Nobody thought of it that way, and I'm inclined to think on a priest's first offense, they should not go to jail because their intention was not committing a crime.
That may be crazier than the previous statement, actually. First of all, calling them different sexual difficulties, except for rape or violence, which is exactly what we're talking about here, rape and violence.
Do you guys go
say
to
that
the
they should
Catholic
get,
Church?
you know, your first time, boys will be boys. You can go free. No, that's insane. And then to think that,
They're trying to drive you away from religion,
just
but
better. Back in the good old
they don't
days,
worship
you could
Jesus
rape
there.
someone and get away with it. Those were good times.
It's unbelievable to me.
Not to mention the fact that the weird mental gymnastics that go into saying the relationships are heterosexual in nature, and that historically sexual relationships between men and boys have not been thought of as crimes. They're heterosexual in nature, but we're talking about sexual relationships. You might want to look into the definitions.
Huh.
He
That's
says
basically
some
all
crazy
Catholics.
things. He says that the boys might be looking for father figures. They might be drawn to priests to fill an emotional hole in their lives. Yeah, that's what priests are there for. Emotional, psychological support, not to be sexually molested.
I feel like we're trying to talk sense into someone who is so firm in his beliefs that he is afraid of any type of criticism, right? He doesn't want anyone to look down on his religion and his beliefs because of something that occurred, so he's being very dismissive of things that have occurred as opposed to confronting it. And I understand it. It's difficult when there's something that you love and you realize that that thing that you love has elements of it that are pure evil. It's difficult to be confronted with that. But I think it makes you a stronger person, and it shows you your true character when you're able to step back and say, you know what, I believe in this religion, and there's good in this religion. However, there is a tremendous amount of evil in this religion, and we need to find a way to reform it. We need to find a way to change it.
Check me out, XCon TV, Timothy Tucker, guys.